Chosen one, the shadow has already been cast. While others sleep, something has been set in motion that will shake everything they thought was secure. Stop scrolling and listen closely. This is not another message floating through your feed. You are encountering this word at the exact moment heaven intended. Do you feel that stirring in your spirit? That's no coincidence. That's confirmation. Can you sense why certain doors have been closing? Why certain people have been removed from your circle? Why you felt this pull to seek God more intensely than ever before? If you ignore what's about to be revealed, you'll face the coming storm without understanding why you've been given such specific preparation. This isn't just spiritual insight. This is prophetic intelligence designed to position you correctly for what lies ahead. You are not here by accident. What's ahead in this message will expose exactly why heaven is moving so strategically in your life right now. But first, here's what you need to understand. God never sends protection without purpose. When divine guards are assigned, it means something powerful is about to unfold, and you are central to his plan. Hit the like button to declare, "I'm ready to receive this divine message." It takes just a second, but helps spread this word to thousands of other chosen ones who need it right now. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this elite guard has been assigned to you and how to walk confidently in the protection that's already been released. But here's the first revelation that changes everything. The danger approaching isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to reveal the depth of God's commitment to your destiny. The enemy is moving because he knows what you're about to become. This isn't about living in fear. This is about walking in awareness. The warning is not to terrify you. It's to prepare you for the level of authority God is about to release through your life. Type 444 below if you're claiming divine protection, order, and stability over your life starting today. What's on your heart today? Leave your prayer request in the comments and then take a moment to lift someone else up with words of encouragement. When you share your prayer, others will intercede for you. When you pray for someone else, God moves in ways you never imagined. And to all our channel members, thank you for your continued support and faith. May God return it to you in peace, provision, and divine favor. Right now, if you're feeling like the ground beneath your feet is shaking, like everything you thought was stable is starting to wobble or even crumble around you, I want you to know something incredibly important, something whispered from the very heart of God. That quiet tremor you feel, the instability that unnerves you, it isn't an arbitrary act of chaos. God is allowing these old structures in your life to shake, not because he delights in your discomfort or wants you to lose hope, but because he loves you too much to let you build your future on anything that isn't truly solid. He wants to show you what was never truly stable, what could never really be trusted in the first place, so that you can finally build on the unshakable rock of his truth and his provision. When your carefully made plans, painstakingly crafted with so much hope and effort, suddenly fall apart like a house of cards in the wind. When relationships you held so dear, the very fabric of your daily comfort, seem to slip right through your fingers like fine sand. Or when those people you were so sure would always be there for you suddenly vanish from your life, leaving an echo of emptiness behind. It can feel like a punishment, right? It can sting with the bitter taste of betrayal, or feel like you've done something terribly wrong, or like life is just unfairly cruel. The questions scream in your mind, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But I promise you, with every fiber of my being, it isn't punishment at all. It's actually a deep, necessary, and profoundly loving process. It's like a skilled gardener with an eye for abundance, pruning a beloved plant. The gardener knows that the removal of old, weak, or misdirected branches is not an act of destruction, but an act of strategic preservation, vital for the plant's health and future fruitfulness. Heaven, in its infinite wisdom and boundless compassion, is meticulously working to separate what's truly essential for your ultimate growth, for the destiny you're called to walk into. from what's merely familiar, comfortable, or even what's been subtly hindering your progress without you realizing it. This isn't done out of cruelty or indifference. It's done out of a profound, sacrificial mercy, a tender hand guiding you away from pitfalls you cannot yet see. The divine goal, the tender intention behind every shake and every shift, is that when the time comes for you to step into your next big season, into the fullness of your calling and purpose, you'll be surrounded only by what's strong enough, real enough, and true enough to truly carry the weight of what's ahead for you. You will stand on a foundation that will not tremble, surrounded by connections that are forged in divine intention, ready to withstand any storm. To really grasp this profound truth, to let it sink from your head into the very core of your heart, let's bring to mind someone we all know from the timeless pages of the Bible, Joseph. Can you possibly imagine what that felt like? In the raw, aching moments of his betrayal, he's literally cast into a dark, echoing pit by his own brothers, the very people who shared his bloodline, whose lives were intertwined with his from birth. He was then sold into slavery, a mere possession, his worth stripped away. He was completely betrayed, misunderstood, wrongly accused, and then forgotten in places he never, ever chose to be. A foreign land, a desolate prison cell. At every single turn in his extraordinary story, loss didn't just seem like an obstacle. It felt like the definitive, crushing end. Each time something precious was taken from him, each time a door slammed shut, it must have felt like his dreams, his future, his very identity, everything he knew and cherished was just evaporating into thin air, leaving him with nothing but the bitter taste of ashes. But here's the mind-blowing, heart-stopping truth, the divine paradox that redefines everything. What looked so much like exclusion, like a total, irreversible rejection, and being left out in the cold, abandoned by God and man, was actually God's meticulous, strategic protection. It was God's sovereign hand repositioning him, placing him exactly where he needed to be. He was not being discarded, he was being prepared. He was being prepared for a level of authority and influence, a sphere of impact and leadership that he never, ever could have achieved if he had stayed comfortable and safe within the familiar, perhaps even stifling confines of his old family circle. The deep, often excruciating pain he endured, the loneliness of the pit, the injustice of Potiphar's house, the despair of the prison, wasn't just random suffering without purpose. It was the proving ground. It was the training field where his character was forged, his faith refined, his leadership skills honed in the crucible of adversity. It was the wilderness school that prepared him for the incredible promotion and the global purpose God had planned. It's a powerful, undeniable reminder that sometimes what feels like a major setback, a crushing defeat, or an unfair dismissal is actually a strategic setup for your greatest breakthrough, a divine rearrangement of pieces on the chessboard of your life, designed for your ultimate victory. So please, let this profound truth really sink deep into your spirit today. Let it settle like balm on your weary heart and strengthen you from the inside out. Some of the deepest, most painful losses you experience in life are not really losses at all. In the eternal ledger, they are actually deliverance in disguise, a hidden grace, a divine disentanglement. It's like God, with a tender but firm hand, is gently but purposefully pulling you away from something that was never truly meant for your future, something that might have looked good or felt safe, but would have ultimately hindered or harmed you. And every single time God closes a door in your life, even if it feels jarring and confusing in the moment, leaving you disoriented and questioning, He isn't just saying no. Udu, He's actually securing you, like a shepherd pulling a lamb back from a cliff edge. He's actively protecting you from attacks and schemes that were already being strategized against you, dark intentions you didn't even know were coming, invisible snares set to trap your feet. It's like He's putting up a spiritual shield, a divine firewall, pulling you back from harm's way, shielding your destiny from unseen dangers. Now you might be sitting there, perhaps in the quiet of your room, or walking through your day wondering, why does it feel so incredibly lonely right now? Why am I walking this path seemingly by myself, with so few people understanding? And that's a very natural, honest question to ask, a valid ache in the heart. The honest truth, often difficult to accept, is that sometimes the vast majority of people around us simply cannot understand or steward the specific revelation, the unique assignment, and the divine safeguarding that God has specifically assigned for you, who might be in the minority. They can't walk with you into the next season because they are not equipped for it, or they might even unwittingly pull you backward. You're not being isolated in a negative sense, as if you've been rejected or left out. Instead, you are being insulated, like a precious, irreplaceable jewel, carefully wrapped in layers of silk and placed in a secure vault. Think of it like a perfectly designed, protective layer being placed around you, a spiritual cocoon to keep you safe and preserve what's vital for your next assignment, for the grand purpose for which you were born. It's a sacred separation for a sacred purpose, a necessary solitude that precedes a powerful unveiling. And often, here's another truth to embrace. Some of the greatest breakthroughs, those electrifying moments where everything finally clicks into place, where the fog lifts and new possibilities open up before you like a vast sunlit landscape, don't come when you're frantically searching for every single answer, running yourself ragged, trying to intellectualize every mystery. They come when you simply stop the frantic search, when you quiet the noise in your mind and spirit, and instead start sitting quietly with the revelation God has already given you, or is beginning to give you. It's about letting that truth marinate, letting it settle deep within your spirit, not just as information, but as a living, breathing part of your very being. Imagine allowing a rich, complex flavor to deepen and infuse every fiber of a dish. That's what happens when you let God's truth marinate within you. It transforms you from the inside out. If what I'm saying right now truly resonates with something deep inside your spirit, if you feel that stirring, that undeniable spiritual yes, then the 10 hidden truths of Jesus' parables is absolutely your next step. It's not just another book. It's a short, incredibly powerful ebook, born from a place of deep prayer and spirit-led insight that takes some of Jesus's most profound teachings, often overlooked in their practical application, and opens up spirit-led truths that can directly impact areas like your money, your healing journey, and your emotional clarity. It's designed not just to inform your mind, but to bring light and understanding exactly where you need it most, guiding you to tangible, transformative breakthroughs in your daily life. The link to get your copy is conveniently located right there in the very first comment below this video. But please be aware that it's only going to be available for a limited time, a window of opportunity that will close. So don't miss out on this divine opportunity to deepen your understanding and walk in greater freedom. Now let's not just talk about these powerful truths. Let's not just admire them from a distance like beautiful paintings. Let's actually walk them out, step by step, with intention and courage. Because what you do next, your very next move, the choices you make in the quiet moments and the public ones, matters more than you might even realize for this precise season of your life. It's not just about knowing these truths. It's about doing them, living them, breathing them into every facet of your existence. This is where transformation truly begins. Here's step 1. It's time to consciously and completely surrender your intense need to understand absolutely everything, every single detail, every twist and turn, before you even consider obeying. This is such a common human struggle, isn't it? We crave control. We want to see the whole map laid out before us, know every potential obstacle and every guaranteed success before we're willing to take a single, vulnerable step. We demand certainty. But the truth is, and this is a profound, life-altering spiritual principle, obedience often precedes clarity. It doesn't work the other way around. You don't get all the answers and then decide to move. You move, and in the movement, the answers begin to unfold. Think about Abraham, the father of faith. God told him with startling simplicity, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." Genesis 12:1. He didn't see the full landscape of the promised land. He didn't have a detailed itinerary with landmarks and lodging. He didn't even know the name of the place, just "the land I will show you." He just heard, "Go," and it was in the very act of moving, in that simple, audacious, obedient step of faith into the vast unknown, that the promise started to become visible to him, one sunrise and one desert trek at a time. He didn't get clarity, then obey. He obeyed, then got clarity. As we continue this journey together, you'll start to discover that it's not really information that you're lacking in this season. It's a deeper, more profound trust in the one who holds all the information, the one who holds your future in the palm of his hand. It's about trusting the guide more than you need to see the entire path. Step 2. You've got to consciously and courageously identify every single voice that's competing for your attention in this season of your life. In our noisy, hyper-connected world, this is much harder than it sounds. We are bombarded by opinions, expectations, and the relentless chatter of the world. Not every good idea that pops into your head, no matter how appealing or logical, is a divine instruction from heaven, and certainly not every open door that appears before you, no matter how shiny or convenient, is actually heaven sent. Some doors lead to detours, to distractions, or even to traps. We see this so clearly with Nehemiah, a man burdened by a divine calling. He was tasked with rebuilding the broken walls of Jerusalem, a truly massive, dangerous, and divine assignment. But throughout that arduous process, he constantly had to discern between the relentless distractions of his enemies, the insidious whispers of internal doubts, and the true divine instruction that was leading him directly toward his destiny. He faced mockery, threats, and attempts to pull him away from his holy focus, to draw him down from the wall. His response, emblazoned in Scripture, was a powerful act of naming his distractions and asserting his purpose. "I am doing a great work and cannot come down." Nehemiah 6:3. When you courageously name your distractions, when you identify those competing voices, whether they're external pressures from well-meaning friends, internal anxieties that echo past failures, or even shrewd but misguided advice from others, that's when your spiritual authority starts to return. You regain control of your focus, your energy, and your path, aligning yourself with the singular voice of the shepherd. Step 3. We need to proactively and deliberately rebuke the spirit of false urgency that often tries to sneak in like an unwelcome intruder to steal your peace. Have you ever felt that intense, almost crushing pressure to make a decision right now, to act immediately, as if the entire world will crumble if you don't, or else you'll miss out on some fleeting opportunity? That overwhelming sense of panic, that racing heart, that feeling of being perpetually behind, that's typically the enemy at work, stirring up chaos. The enemy thrives on pushing panic, on making you feel rushed and stressed, manipulating your fear of missing out. But God, our loving, sovereign Father, offers something entirely different, something truly divine. He offers profound peace and perfect strategic timing. He's never in a hurry, for he holds all time in his hands. Look at Jesus, our ultimate example. He was never rushed, not even when the storm raged loudest on the sea, threatening to capsize their boat. Not even when Lazarus, his beloved friend, was dying, or when clamoring crowds desperately sought his attention. He moved with a divine calm, a sovereign timing, completely anchored in his Father's will and clock. This false urgency, this need to constantly rush and react, to chase after every new thing, is a subtle habit that's often undermining your spiritual stability and clarity without you even realizing it, eroding your trust in God's meticulous plan. It's a silent thief of your peace. Later, we're going to dig even deeper into how this subtle habit impacts your ability to walk in God's unshakable peace and access His wisdom. Step 4. This one is vital for your emotional and spiritual freedom, truly a key to unlocking your future. You must root out any bitterness you might be clinging to toward those who have left you, those who have hurt you deeply, or those who simply misunderstood you in profound ways. I know, with every fiber of my being, how incredibly hard this is. When someone has wronged you, abandoned you, or shattered your trust, it's so easy to hold on to that offense, to nurse that wound, to replay the scenario over and over again in your mind. But clinging to offense, clutching bitterness to your chest, is like dragging heavy, rusty anchors into your promised land. You can see the destination, you can see the beauty and freedom God has for you, but you're tethered to the past, weighed down by the chains of unforgiveness. This self-imposed burden slows you down, exhausts your spirit, and prevents you from truly entering into the abundant freedom and new blessings God has waiting for you. Look at Joseph again, our incredible example. He was deeply wronged, truly wronged, in ways most of us can barely fathom. Yet he chose to forgive his brothers, not just externally through a forced gesture, but from his heart. A radical act of grace, even before he ascended to the incredible heights of power in Egypt. He declared with profound insight and a spirit free of malice, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring about this present result, to preserve many people alive." Genesis 50:20. This shows us a profound, undeniable truth. Emotional freedom always precedes external elevation and divine promotion. You cannot truly soar, you cannot step into the spacious places God has prepared for you if you're weighed down by the heavy, poisoning chains of unforgiveness and bitterness. Release them and watch your spirit begin to ascend. Step 5. Let's make a serious, intentional covenant with your mouth today. This means making a conscious, deliberate, moment-by-moment choice to refuse self-cursing and any form of defeatist language, even when you're all by yourself, even in the most private moments of your mind. It's so incredibly easy to let those negative, destructive thoughts slip out when no one else is around, isn't it? To whisper to yourself things like, "I'm such an idiot," or "This will never work for me, I always mess things up," or "I'm just not good enough, I'll never measure up." But understand this deeply. The words you declare, even in the quiet of your own space, even the silent agreements you make with negative thoughts, are incredibly powerful. They aren't just empty sounds, they are actively constructing the spiritual environment around you. They are creating the atmosphere in which you live and breathe and operate, shaping your reality. Remember David. He was just a young shepherd boy in the pasture, tending to his father's sheep, a nobody by the world's towering standards. But he was speaking victory over Goliath, the seemingly insurmountable giant, long before he even stepped onto the battlefield. He didn't just hope, he declared. He courageously proclaimed, "The Lord, who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17:37. He was speaking his future, prophesying his deliverance, even when his present circumstances looked utterly bleak and impossible. This is the move most people miss, the secret ingredient to accelerated breakthrough, the powerful, consistent, unwavering declaration of God's truth and His promises over your life, no matter how slow or contrary things look now. This is the one that unlocks acceleration you never thought possible, turning slow progress into divine momentum. Step 6. It's time to take firm, resolute authority over passivity in your life. Passivity, in a spiritual sense, isn't just about being lazy or lacking motivation. It's often a subtle spiritual resistance, a comfortable avoidance. It's about waiting for ideal conditions, waiting for everything to be perfectly aligned and absolutely clear before you step out in faith. It's the constant quest for a guaranteed outcome. But here's the tough, uncompromising truth. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. God often asks us to move when it's uncomfortable, when it doesn't quite make sense to our natural minds, when we can only see the very next step and nothing more. Look at Esther, a young woman thrust into unimaginable circumstances. She didn't wait for ideal conditions or a perfectly clear, risk-free path before acting to save her people. She knew there was immense risk, even a risk to her own life, when she approached the king without being called, breaking protocol. But she moved at God's prompting, in faith and raw courage, famously declaring, "If I perish, I perish." Esther 4:16. Her audacious actions, born of a humble but unwavering faith, shifted the destiny of an entire nation, saving her people from annihilation. There will never be a perfect moment, a flawless alignment of circumstances that removes all fear. The perfect moment is simply when God speaks, when His Spirit prompts you to move. So what has He prompted you to do that you've been putting off, hesitating, or overanalyzing? Take that step, however small it may seem. The biggest breakthroughs often start with the smallest acts of obedience. Step 7. Find the altar in your daily routine. This isn't about literally building a physical altar in your living room, unless you feel led to do that. It's about consciously dedicating specific, non-negotiable time for God's presence. Before you dive into your daily performance, your endless tasks, your sprawling to-do lists, in our go-go-go, always-on world, it's so incredibly easy to prioritize action over connection, to chase productivity instead of presence. But your spirit, your inner man, needs nourishment as desperately as your body needs food and water. It needs to be replenished, refueled, and recentered in His presence. Think about Daniel, a man of profound influence and unwavering integrity in a pagan land. His incredible breakthroughs, his supernatural wisdom, his extraordinary favor, and his miraculous divine protection were secured not in public acclaim or impressive speeches, but in his disciplined, consistent, unseen prayer life. 3 times a day he knelt and prayed, his windows open toward Jerusalem. Even when it was literally life-threatening, a decree had been issued against it. Daniel 6:10. That quiet, consistent, non-negotiable time with God fueled everything else he did, anchoring him in a chaotic world. What small shift can you make to intentionally create that sacred space, that personal altar for His presence in your everyday life? Even just 5 minutes of quiet prayer, or listening to worship music, or meditating on a single scripture can transform the entire atmosphere of your day and fuel your spirit for what lies ahead. Step 8. It's crucial that you release your tight, often anxious grip on timelines. This is a big one for so many of us because we live in a world that thrives on instant gratification, where everything is available at the touch of a screen. We want to know when, and we want it now, with a detailed itinerary and a precise delivery date. But here's a powerful, liberating truth. Delay does not mean denial. Just because something hasn't happened yet, or hasn't happened in your preferred time frame, your ideal schedule, does not mean God has forgotten you or that He has said no to His promise. Often, delay is not a roadblock. It's friction that actually forges endurance, resilience, and a deeper, more refined character within you. It's the necessary stretching, the spiritual muscle building. Think about Moses, a man destined for greatness, but one who stumbled in his early zeal. He spent 4 decades, 40 long years, in complete obscurity in the desolate desert, tending sheep, after he thought he was ready to deliver Israel. 40 years. It must have felt like God had completely forgotten him, that his moment had passed, that his calling was a distant, forgotten dream. But it was in that long, hidden period of humble obscurity and preparation that he was being shaped, molded, and stripped of his own self-reliance and impatience, until one burning bush moment changed everything, launching him into his divine destiny. Exodus 3:1-10. Trust God's timing more than your own, more than the world's expectations. His delays are always purposeful, always pregnant with divine intention. He is never late. He is always perfectly on time. Step 9. You must consciously and courageously align your actions with the word that has been spoken over your life, even and especially when your current circumstances scream the complete opposite of that promise. This is where faith gets gritty and real, where it moves from a comfortable belief to a powerful active force. It's easy to believe when everything lines up perfectly, when the evidence is abundant. It's much harder, but infinitely more powerful when you're standing in a storm, when the facts contradict the truth. Consider Peter, a fisherman, a practical man. When Jesus called him to walk on water, against everything logic screamed at him, against the very laws of nature, he stepped out of the boat, Matthew 14:29. His miracle, that incredible, gravity-defying moment of walking on the impossible, began not on stable ground but on unstable, churning water. His action, born of radical faith in a spoken word, brought the supernatural into the natural. What word has God given you? What promise are you holding on to in your heart? Even if your bank account is empty, your health report is dire, or your relationships are in turmoil, contradicting that promise at every turn, what small, faith-filled action can you take today that aligns with what God has said? That's where your breakthrough begins, in the vulnerable, audacious step of aligning your feet with His word, regardless of what your eyes see. Step 10. Here's a bit of a confrontation, a challenge that comes not from judgment, but from profound love and a desire for your freedom. It's time to expose any pride that might be subtly disguising itself as overcaution or even as wisdom. Sometimes, what you tell yourself is careful discernment, or just being realistic or managing expectations, is actually a deep-seated fear of disappointment, a fear of failure, or a fear of looking foolish in the eyes of others. We want to protect ourselves from hurt, from rejection, from embarrassment, and that's a natural human tendency, a part of our wiring. But often, pride, this subtle self-preservation, keeps us from stepping into the uncomfortable vulnerability that true faith requires. The kind of faith that risks everything for God. Look at Saul, the first king of Israel. He lost his kingdom, not because he lacked ability or military prowess, but because he was constantly trying to manage appearances, trying to keep up his image before the people, and trying to please people rather than simply obeying God. 1 Samuel 15:24. He prioritized reputation over revelation. God doesn't elevate those who try to control every outcome and look perfect, those who meticulously calculate every risk to avoid falling. He elevates those who are willing to risk vulnerability, who are willing to look foolish for His sake, who simply trust Him with reckless abandon. What risks are you avoiding right now? What steps are you delaying because of a fear of how it might look or how it might feel if it doesn't work out as you planned? Let go of that fear and watch God lift you higher than you imagined. Step 11. It's time to challenge the deep loyalty you might still have to old definitions of yourself, to past labels, to comfortable identities. This is so powerful, and it's often an unseen blocker, a self-imposed prison. Heaven is actively shifting your assignment. God is moving you into new territory, new responsibilities, new levels of impact and influence. But you simply cannot possess this new land. You cannot walk fully into that new identity. You cannot wear the new garment God has for you if you are still clinging desperately to what made you comfortable in the past, or to labels that others, or even you yourself, have put on you. Think about Gideon, a man called by God for a monumental task. When the angel of the Lord appeared to him, Gideon was literally hiding in a winepress, threshing wheat, doing humble work to avoid the Midianites, paralyzed by fear and a sense of insignificance. Yet the angel declared, "The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor." Judges 6:12. Gideon was called mighty in the middle of hiding. It took him divorcing yesterday's expectations, letting go of his old identity as a fearful, insignificant man, to step into and lead tomorrow's incredible victory for Israel. What old story are you still telling yourself about who you are or who you aren't that God is ready to rewrite? What familiar, worn-out labels are you still wearing? Let go of yesterday's labels. Embrace tomorrow's calling, the divine truth of who you are becoming in Him. Step 12. And now for what might be the most unexpected truth, the one most people never truly consider when they're in the thick of it, when the pressure feels unbearable. Sometimes God actually allows attacks to come against you, not because you're doing something wrong, not because you've fallen out of favor, but as profound evidence that your anointing, your spiritual gifting, is maturing. It's not a setback, it's a sign. It's a confirmation that you're growing in power and influence, stepping into a new level of spiritual authority. The threat you're facing isn't a sign that you're off course, that you've messed up, or that you're destined for failure. Quite the opposite. It's confirmation that you are marked. You are a threat to the enemy's kingdom, and that's precisely why he's coming after you with such ferocity. Think about Israel at the Red Sea, a people finally free, finally on their way to the Promised Land. But then Pharaoh's army, the most powerful and ruthless army of the day, chased them relentlessly to the very brink of disaster. They were literally surrounded. The vast, uncrossable Red Sea in front, impassable mountains on either side, and an overwhelming, vengeful army behind them. It looked like the absolute end, no way out. You are surrounded, yes, you might feel trapped, but often it's only so God can showcase His incredible, undeniable, miraculous deliverance in a way that leaves absolutely no room for human boasting, no room for you to say, "I did that with my strength or my wisdom." It leaves only pure, breathtaking awe at His power, His faithfulness, His glory. Your current battle, the one that feels so overwhelming today, is often a strategic precursor to your greatest miracle, a prelude to a powerful testimony of God's unmatched ability to deliver. If something in your spirit just resonated deeply with this word today, if you know in your heart, with an undeniable certainty, that this message was sent specifically for you in this season of your life, please don't just scroll on in silence. This is your moment to engage, to respond, to step into agreement with what heaven is declaring over you. Stop right now and take a moment to write, "I'm stepping into protection and purpose," in the comments section below. Do it not as a performance, but as a simple but powerful act of agreement and faith, a public declaration of your heart. And before this day ends, I have a specific Spirit-led instruction for you, an act of radical generosity that will unlock even more for you. Please take a moment to pray for the person who commented right above you. Just declare over them, with all your heart, with genuine intercession, that what God has started in their life, He will absolutely finish. Speak life and completion over their journey. Your simple act of obedience to encourage someone else, to intercede for them, to lift them up, will become a powerful seed that multiplies back into your own life in ways you can't even begin to imagine. Thank you for being here today, for opening your heart, and for letting God speak to you. May His peace and purpose settle deeply upon you.